An opening prayer. Following that, Commissioner Leon Clement, will you lead us in the pledges? Would everybody please rise? Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to join together to do the business of the county, Lord. We ask that you watch over those who are dealing with troubles in this difficult time, Lord, whether that's emotional, physical, or economic, Lord. We ask that you be with them and guide them back to wholeness, Lord. We ask that the work we do today is beneficial to you and serves your purpose. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
There he is. Brought more carpet squares, I see.
Blue?
Item 5 is public comments. I don't believe we had anybody sign up. Item 6 is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they wish to pull?
I need to pull C. No, sorry, D.
We have a request to pull item D.
Is that D and is D?
D is in dog.
D.
Any others?
I'll make a motion we approve except for D.
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs to approve the consent with the exception of item D.
Second.
Second by Commissioner John Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item D is deliberate and consider possible action regarding payment of monthly bills. Commissioner?
There's an item on there for $50. It's going to my personal business, G-Town Auto Sales, where I have a detail business that rents the facility from me in the back, and they're detailing for the sheriff's department every now and then. So there's one bill on there for $50. I would never recuse myself from that one.
Are you getting any benefit from that whatsoever?
Well, he rents the bay from me, but
So the only reason I bring this up, I've caught nothing but trouble from that wind farm, and I can't even oversee the roads out there that's part of the wind farm because my family may benefit. So I wonder how this falls in that category as well, because it is your business, your property.
yeah. Can you answer that, Judge, how that works?
Well, I mean, he's recusing himself from voting and discussion on that. And I think, did you file?
I did. I meant to say that. I did file the conflict of interest with the clerk's office. And whenever when one of the deputies that called and set it up with me, it's the only facility in town that they can actually get a vehicle cleaned on the inside that has insurance. So it's kind of the only place they can get it done in town.
I'm just comparing to what I've been put through, and you're physically the owner of the business and making money off the business. So I don't know if this is a conflict of interest. You fill out the affidavit, that's correct. I mean, I couldn't do business with my son as a conflict of interest for buying tires. So I don't know how a commissioner can have a business and be making a profit from that.
Well, it's also not my department doing business. So
It's G-Town Auto Sales, Inc. Isn't that your business?
No,
it is my business, but it's not my precinct buying from my business. It's the sheriff's office buying from the business.
Okay, well,
I understand it's an extremely gray area, and I've expressed those concerns, but, I mean, you know, it's a once-in-a-blue thing. If people want to question me on it, it's fine. They have, you know, something happens that we're not doing the outside, we're just doing the inside. If something bad happens, we can get the inside cleaned back up for them and take care of the car, so, you know.
I'm not trying to hurt anybody's business, but the hell we got put through for this?
Well, this is the same statute that governs the one that you did a couple of weeks ago for Casey's. And it's the I mean, it says within 1 degree, and so that's son or parent, and I've had the same situation come through, so.
But it's different when the commissioner owns the business, it's somebody that's doing the detail work. The bill is going to G-Town Sales, which is his business. Isn't that a conflict?
By statute, it's the exact same conflict. It is a conflict, which is why he is abstaining from voting.
It's the 1 degree.
Yes, it's within the 1 degree. It's the same thing that we've had a few other members, and it was the one that was the same one that came up in the wind farms. That's what the statute is, and
Now, they were trying to get me on the 2nd degree.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not in the 1st degree.
But this is the one that applies to the 1st degree, and I think you said you filed the,
Filed second.
Well, be careful. Everybody's looking for an excuse these days. I'd just be real careful.
well, I'll make a motion, we approve the bills excluding that particular payment.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hollowell. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. And then I'll make the motion, we approve the payment of G-Town Auto Sales.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion?
At least we had the discussion
Yeah.
on it, so they can't somebody say we didn't discuss it. I want that out there. All right.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? We got one abstention being Commissioner Snuggs. Passes 4-0-1. Item number 7 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding radio communications RFPs. We had this on a few courts back. We do have 2 that have submitted. We wanted some more time to review and discuss potential alternatives and kind of where we wanted to go with that. So I wanted to put it back in front of the court. We do have Trot Communications here or Trot here to discuss going down through these a little bit more and giving a little more explanation if the court wants to allow them to do so. So if you don't mind, can you walk us through, because we had that meeting a few weeks ago, kind of walk us through the situation, if you would.
Good morning. Yeah, after the questions and comments that came up in the previous meeting, we realized we needed to do a better job explaining the process that has gotten us to this point. But also, there were resolved some concerns regarding Trot's impartiality in that process. So in 2018, Trot was engaged by the county to determine if 95% portable radio outdoor coverage was a feasible goal for the county. The county's current systems are all single-site VHF analog systems, sheriff, fire, EMS, EMC, with coverages ranging to cover the county about 44 to 82%. So how was Trot selected? In 2007, going back 13 years, there was a nationwide 800 megahertz rebanding project going on. Nextel Communications was an 800 megahertz wireless commercial provider. They got permission from the FCC to switch from providing two-way service to cellular service. Well, unfortunately, when that happened, they started interfering with the other existing public safety and commercial two-way licensees nationwide. It was then decided by the FCC that a rebanding project was going to occur where they would take Sprint Nextel, eventually bought Nextel, move them to one end of the 800 megahertz band, move all the existing other two-way licensees to the other end of the band to resolve this interference. As part of that move, Sprint would be responsible for paying all licensees the equipment changes necessary to make that move. They were also responsible for paying all legal and technical representation to make sure those moves kept their systems working as they had previously. Self Radio had 4 licenses affected by this rebanding project. Self worked with our former vice president, George Weimer, who's since retired, and George was the technical representation for Self. Trot was paid by Sprint Nextel for that work, not by Self. Trot has never sold or had vested interest in the sale or representation of any manufacturer's equipment. Keith and I have been working on public safety system RFPs for 20 years. We've had contracts awarded to every vendor. Some examples, recently Motorola was awarded a Northern Kentucky 3-county conglomerate system, Greenwich, Connecticut, City of Asheville, North Carolina, Cooke County, Texas. We've had projects awarded to Harris, the combined county and city of Rockwall, Texas project last year, Weathersfield, Connecticut. And E.F. Johnson was awarded the project at DFW Airport. Our sole focus and goal is to represent the best interests of Cooke County. We're not here to sell you any particular manufacturer's equipment. So why was a P25 VHF conventional systems selected? Well, once the 2018 coverage study showed that 95% portable coverage was attainable, the study then presented budgetary options to the radio committee stakeholders, the sheriff, fire, EMS, and EMC, giving them budgetary options to go forward. They could either maintain the status quo, upgrade to a P25 conventional solution, or upgrade to a P25 trunking solution. The key stakeholders reviewed those options and decided that P25 VHF conventional solution best fit the needs for the price. VHF propagation characteristics allow the county to obtain that 95% coverage goal with the minimal number of transmit sites. The county holds existing VHF licenses. 25% of the county's subscriber fleet would be reusable, as they are current supported models that operate in VHF, in the VHF band and are P25 capable. Additionally, the sheriff's system is already a P25 conventional system, and so therefore even the sheriff's obsolete radios are reusable until failure or a later replacement cycle instead of a full upgrade and overhaul right up front. Now, there are challenges in the VHF band. It's the oldest public safety frequency band. The VHF band was initially simplex in nature, single unpaired frequencies. The later public safety bands, UHF 700, 800 megahertz, are planned frequency bands where they separated transmit at one end and receive at the other. So repeated VHF systems, which is what we have currently and would have going forward, you have to form your own frequency pairs, and therefore there are greater chances of interference due to that unplanned nature. Nonetheless, there have been many VHF conventional systems implemented currently. Why P25 conventional? The traffic capacity of the existing VHF channels support the needs of the key stakeholders. P25 is the public safety digital open standard. Digital systems perform better coverage-wise than narrowband analog systems. P25 provides the county the options to purchase P25 compliant subscriber radios from multiple vendors, both upfront and going forward. Interoperable with other P25 VHF systems. Trunking systems do offer increased voice traffic capacity on the same number of frequency pairs. They offer increased features and functions, but they involve higher complexity to maintain and operate with associated higher costs, both infrastructure, software, and subscribers, at least double the upfront cost. So the RFP process. Trot's RFP technical sections start from the same template. We then modify and customize that RFP to meet and accurately describe the functions and features necessary to the county. We've never had a vendor not respond to our RFPs due to improper, inaccurate, or confusing RFPs. It is not, it is not uncommon for site and spectrum changes to occur during the RFP process. It's more common than not, in fact. Sites are recommended in the RFP, but in the end, design is the responsibility of the responding vendor. And therefore, site and spectrum flexibility is a must. RFP notices were provided to Motorola Corporate, Harris Corporate, EFJ Kenwood Corporate, Self Radio, Crosspoint Communications, a authorized Motorola dealer in Arlington, Texas. It was published on the county website, in the Gainesville Daily Register, and the Weekly News of Cooke County. The mandatory pre-proposal conference was attended by Motorola Corp., Harris Corp., EFJ Kenwood Corp., and Self Radio. All that being said, we do design our RFPs to also allow flexibility and creativity for the vendors. The vendors must respond to the main goals of the RFP, but we allow vendors to propose an alternate design. Vendors may have ideas that the county and Trot did not consider. We had an example in Morgan County, Alabama. We were going out RFP. The main thrust was a UHF P25 conventional system solution. We allowed alternate proposals by the vendors, and in that case, Motorola's alternate proposal was to piggyback off a neighboring county's system and offer a 700 megahertz P25 trunking solution that was very competitive with the main thrust and actually ended up being the winning bid. That's why in the case here of Cooke County, Harris was able to propose an alternate solution of 700, 800 megahertz. Why didn't Motorola participate? Obviously, we cannot speak for Motorola, but it's our experience and opinion that the business cases, research and development of both Motorola and Harris Corp. Are primarily focused on the participation and implementation of trunked 700, 800 megahertz P25 systems. Conventional P25 systems, VHF systems, are not high-ticket items, and generally Motorola and Harris Corp. Are less likely to participate in these projects. Instead, they usually assign a local authorized dealer to participate, as EFJ Kenwood Corp. Did in this instance. Some examples: we worked with Cooke County, Texas on a very similar upgrade project to yours here. The Cooke County Sheriff had an end-of-life 2-channel 4-site analog VHF system. After analyzing the needs and requirements of the sheriff and working with them, an RFP was developed to implement a 4-site P25 VHF conventional simulcast system, just like here. Harris was actually the incumbent radio vendor, both subscriber radios and infrastructure in that instance. And despite that existing relationship with Cooke County, they actually did not respond to the RFP, officially declined, and only Motorola responded in that instance. But however, since that time, Harris has partnered with Tate Communications. And like Kenwood, Tate does still provide a focus on P25 conventional products. In fact, Harris Corporate does not make any conventional products, any band. If they are responding to a conventional solution, they're using Tate radios. And it's the response here to Cooke is the same thing. Likewise, in 2002, the city of Rockwall, Texas, had an end-of-life conventional UHF system. Rockwall put out an RFP seeking a UHF trunking solution. In that instance, Motorola not only informed the city of its intent to not participate, but urged the city to not go down this path and to wait for the 700 megahertz band to become available. Rockwall nonetheless proceeded with a Harris UHF trunk solution and successfully used that system for over 15 years until just last year. Turned out the 700 megahertz frequencies weren't available until about 2015 anyway. And last year, the city and county of Rockwall pooled their resources and through an RFP created a joint system. And that new system is a 700 megahertz P25 trunk system implemented by Harris. Now, our opinion on the lower coverage guarantee by Harris. We don't believe Harris is saying 95% coverage is impossible. This is a contractual guarantee that they will have to sign up for. We believe they are not willing to commit to that coverage guarantee for 2 strategic reasons. One of the reasons is their concerns with working with the VHF band. And another is we think they're doing it to make their 700, 800 megahertz alternate proposal look better. They're offering 85% coverage guarantee for that proposal versus the 75% for VHF. Our analysis of the Self EFJ Kenwood response with regards to coverage is that Self and EFJ are comfortable with their antenna and filter designs, able to work with the existing frequencies, and thus willing to contractually commit to that 95% coverage goal. In the end, we believe the county has run a proper RFP process. TROTS provided technical analysis of the received proposals, answered questions by the radio committee. The radio committee has reviewed the proposals and scored each response. The RFP is also performance-based. The selected vendor will be required and tested to demonstrate compliance with all contractual performance requirements and will need to make necessary system changes if they're not met. In the end, we do not recommend canceling and reissuing the RFP just because one vendor did not participate. Harris and Self have responded properly. Their key points and prices of their response are now public and no longer confidential. And it's our opinion that the county has run a legitimate and fair RFP process.
Thank you.
You bet.
Wanted to, I know there was some concerns a few courts back on this. Appreciate the explanation going through kind of where we are at and how we got to where we're at here. I wanted to open it up for some discussion to see what you guys thought would be the best way to go forward. My deal is, to be pretty honest, we have a need and we need to address that need.
That's as simple as it gets. But I wanted thoughts.
Sound like they were well briefed on our concerns. So they came well prepared. What would you like to do, Judge?
Well, that's what I'm asking everybody else's opinion on.
I was concerned about like you said, the willingness to guarantee the 75% and more than willingness to guarantee the 95%. And I kind of felt like maybe, the local company's just more familiar with the area and felt more confident that they could get it done, so I wasn't, sometimes a smaller company can do things that bigger companies can't. Kind of the way I viewed it, just a different perception of it.
Tom, traditionally, how many people do y'all have submit an RFP on something like this? Respond, yes.
It's generally 2 to 3. It's going to be Motorola, Harris, and AirJ Template at best. There was a company in the city that actually got the city of Richardson system, but it's since purchased by Motorola. Tate, I guess, could respond, but they are in partnership with Harris at this point. And Template has purchased the MJ. They're at one system now.
Between 2 and 3. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, just depends on the project.
It is unfortunate Motorola did not participate. It actually hurts the county's cause against them. Better have more competition.
Well, and let me reiterate, I'm not questioning anybody's integrity at all. I'm certainly questioning our process and the way we went about our process. When we go to a vendor and ask a vendor that we know is subject to bid on that for a suggestion on who to use for the engineering firm, and we never seek an additional firm, that's the beginning of a poor process, in my opinion, okay? We sent out RFPs, I guess, to Motorola Corporate, EFJ Corporate, H3 Harris, or H3 Corporate, okay? Then we sent it to a Motorola dealer out of Arlington, and we sent it to our local vendor, okay? So then I wonder why we wouldn't send it to a Motorola dealer, for instance, that's 40 miles away versus 100 miles away.
Yeah, no.
Those kind of things. And I'm truly not pushing a single Motorola dealer, okay? I don't know that I'm pushing a single project, or provider, or brand, if you will, okay? Do I have a bias? Yes, after about 40 years of experience in emergency services, and compared to what other emergency service organizations are using, I perceive there's an industry standard out there. That's a perception, didn't say it's gospel, okay? And when we don't get a response from what I think is probably the industry standard, again, my perception, that concerns me, and especially for the amount of money we're going to spend. So, and I wonder, it sounds like you guys have had some experience with Motorola Corporate and Harris, and they have a tendency not to even bid these projects. Why would we send it to them? And then the other thing that's not, again, it's our process. Why our purchasing didn't send out these RFPs, I don't know. I can't answer that question, okay? Then this project was ranked or rated by a county committee, and we're told, hey, the committee loves it, it's wonderful, Committee don't write checks. Committee wasn't approved by Commissioners Court. There's so many steps in the process that seem to have been missed. So again, I'm just questioning our process. Huge part of the responsibility, it's right here, okay? I can't speak for the rest of the court, but I think as a group, we perceived a turnkey project. We identified the problem, we have a problem, we want an assessment, we want the engineers to ultimately tell us what the best process is. And we were ultimately going to end up with towers, repeaters, equipped vehicles with what I believed at the time a P25 compatible radio, okay? What I see in the finished product, or at least what I perceive right now in the pricing, is it doesn't include equipped vehicles. So do we really have a turnkey process? These are just questions, guys. And I'm not questioning anybody's, I'm questioning our own process, the perception of how we got here, you know.
I will say real quick, EFJ, Kenwood, and Harris are both public safety grade equipment. They're not inferior to Motorola. They have to go through compliance testing with P25 and have many successful public safety systems nationwide. So, you know, if Motorola was the only one who could do it, then obviously we wouldn't have even taken responses from anyone else substantially. Also, the point of this item is really not to even award the contract. At this point, it's seeking approval to move forward with the selected vendor from the committee to work out those contractual items that you were talking about, who's doing radio installs, all the nuts and bolts, all the testing that's going to be done to make sure they're compliant, and then bring which options we're going to select, if any, maintenance, yada, yada, and bring those items back to the court for approval in a contractual.
Can you talk to a conventional system versus a trunk system just a little bit for educational purposes?
You mind going back and, because we're streaming this and you don't always catch the mic, so I'm sorry, I should have had you stay up there.
So to reiterate, with a conventional system, your frequency pairs are your channels, right? So the sheriff has a channel, fire has a channel. And in a conventional system, those physical frequency channels are your channels. When sheriff wants to talk, he's on the sheriff channel. He wants to get on fire, he has to switch. What trunking does, it takes, and we'll say in this case, we're looking at, the RFP is looking at 5 frequency pairs, 5 channels. Well, if a trunk system was employed, those 5 frequency pairs are put into a pool and are operated by the system. So now all your users have virtual channels. They're still changing their radio, it's programmed sheriff, fire, but sheriff might have 2 or 3 channels in this case, a tactical and something else, you know, special ops. And when the sheriff goes push to talk and on the sheriff's channel, instead of being on that physical channel like we're looking at now, a message is sent to the system. There's a controller, very complex computer equipment running this, and it looks through the pool of 5 frequencies and says, what's available? This one, assigns it to that particular push to talk. Sheriff can be having a conversation with a deputy out in the field. He ends the call, and 10 seconds later, they are responding. Again, the request goes, and it could be a total different frequency assigned. That allows for much greater efficiency. So with a trunk system of 5 frequency pairs, you can get, I mean, how many virtual channels? Over 100, easy, right? So versus just 5. In a conventional system, 5 is it. So that's why I mentioned traffic, the key stakeholders, traffic capacity, you know, busy signals on their channels was not an issue. Trunking systems are much more complex. You know, like I said, twice the upfront costs. Not against doing it, hey, they're great. You know, it's just a bang to buck type of decision. And I would agree, if you were seriously considering going with a P25 trunking solution, then you have to scrap all existing equipment. You might as well move to 700, 800 megahertz at that point, get to a cleaner band, and I would recommend reissuing the RFP in that instance.
What, I'm sorry?
I would recommend reissuing the RFP in that instance if you were totally changing the main thrust and goal of what the county is seeking.
Just, so, how much money are we talking about? Just,
Well, with the responses we got, obviously the upfront cost ranged, I believe, between about 1.5 and 2.1 mil for this P25 conventional solution. trunking solution, 5 channels, 3 sites, can be about double that, right, Keith? That's your subscriber? I mean, infrastructure or? So, at about another, probably 2 to 3 million.
So we did some pricing on that, but I don't have that.
Yeah, in the 2008 coverage study, that is
On
available.
what we have here is about $1.5 million. Now,
Yeah.
how much more are we going to spend on radios?
Let's see, so,
Because
yeah.
I'm doing this as much for the press as myself and everybody else in the room, so everybody understands the plain English side of this thing and get through all the, these fields are so small, you can't even really read some of this stuff. But, like mobile radio, 600, 2671, or 3805.
Yeah, we asked the various vendors to provide tiers.
I understand.
Okay.
But we are talking about actual money, $1.5 million for this, and then y'all said we're gonna come back and bring the vendors in and decide what, or whoever gets this, bring them back in and decide how we're gonna implement all this. So $1.5 million here when we're finished. And please, I know you're gonna say it all depends on what we want, but
No, I'm not trying to sell you anything,
yeah,
honestly.
but when we're through and everybody has the radios that they think they're gonna have, what kind of estimate do we have on the cost of all of it together?
Okay, good.
Current subscriber equipment is functional and will work with the new system.
Yeah, so 75% of the subscriber fleet will have to be replaced in the next few years because it's not current production. It's not supported by the manufacturer anymore.
I understand.
Yeah. So it's about, there's 450 radios currently. I think it's about 330 would have to be replaced. So if we took an average of, because it depends on which tier they choose, but what's an average there? Maybe 1,000 per radio?
1,200.
1,200. So,
You got a range from almost 7 to 2,700.
yeah,
So-
it depends on what type of, the
So,
features and functions.
Say
of
at
the
least
radio.
$1,200.
I'm sorry.
I said at least $1,200 each.
Yeah, so 1,200 times 330. I got their calculator offhand.
I don't want to go through the trouble.
A lot of money.
Yep. But if you do something else, P25 trunking, it's 450 times. And those radios, P25 trunking radios are about what each?
What'd you come up with?
About $3,000 each. More than $3,000 each.
So we're talking a couple of million.
Yeah.
Now, this goes out to year,
So in there is, we requested from both vendors
Yeah.
optional pricing on maintenance
Yeah.
for years 2 through 11.
all the way through 11.
Right.
And so
that's-
those are optional.
That's optional. That would be part of the process of going back to the selected vendor, if it's allowed, and you work out which of these options are truly necessary, which do the county want to select, if any, and put them into a contractual document. That contractual document, you'll have a fixed amount of money. You'll know what that project's going to cost to approve or disapprove.
So I think this has $1.6 million or something in here, but, so between the radios and this infrastructure, we're gonna go $2 million in the next
Year or two.
year or two.
Yes, sir.
And the only reason for bringing all this up, so everybody doesn't think we're just not happy with whatever we got, which we may not be happy the way this all exactly turned out, but there's a reason to hash this over 10,000 different ways, is because we're about to spend $2 million.
Yes, sir.
And then if you go with the service agreement, I'll call it the service agreement. Now you're going up, that brings your total cost up all the way to the end of 11 years is over 4 million, 4.5 million. That's a lot of money.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're just trying to be careful. I don't know what radios are the best radios.
Just to let you know, your current subscriber fleet is comprised of Motorola and EFJ Kenwood radios.
And regardless of what system we went with, they would still be compatible. I mean, if we went with either vendor here or whatever
Right.
vendor, this type system, those radios are still compatible. We wouldn't
Yes.
have to change out one brand or another
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah, I understand all
Gary talked about the process. I'm a little bumfuzzled with the process myself. Was there a committee that scored this before? Did
Yes,
we
sir.
have a committee?
Yeah, the sheriff, EMS, fire, Ray, Judge scored, and Commissioner Snuggs, I believe you
See-
scored the responses.
You made a hell of a mistake by appointing a committee without us even knowing we appointed a committee.
Well, I
And
didn't-
I never said you did. I never said you did.
Oh, okay.
You is a big term.
Royally.
Anyway. And this has been such a long, drawn-out affair, which I know it takes time. We went from going to the casino to, now we're going to have a tower at another place, which is fine, out at Sybil's Bend. But a lot gets lost in the translation. How long have we been at this?
2 years.
2 years? And I don't know, Ray, did we appoint a committee?
Yes.
When?
When we first brought this to your attention and started this whole process, we spoke about establishing that group that would then talk about it, discuss it, evaluate it, and provide the ideas needed to move to this point that we're at.
I'm pretty
And that was
certain there was
designated the,
I don't want to see, it's been so long.
That was 2 years.
See,
I know, sir, but I'm
So-
happy to provide the information.
That's fine, but the point I'm making is, before this moved on, that should have happened. That should have been, we should have re-talked about all of it.
Got a refresher.
I don't remember something we decided 2 years ago, if we decided 2 years.
Well, and I don't, and I'm not, again, questioning your integrity either,
I'm
Ray.
not-
He wasn't sitting here 2 years ago, I don't think. You been here 2 years? So we may have talked about a committee, we didn't identify players. I don't think.
I don't know.
And I challenge us all to go find some notes, some minutes, if we did that, and I will
Well, that was
publicly
2
say,
years ago,
hey,
so I know we talked about a committee, but I can't tell you the exact words of,
and no way we could know
Of
the
2 years
players,
ago,
because
but
again,
there was-
Commissioner Snuggs wasn't sitting
No,
there
you're
2
correct.
years ago.
But the point I'm making, and I'm not questioning your integrity either, it's a communication problem we seem to have at times, that there should be an update on this and what's going on, and you get the final product, and, you know, you all need to score this, and I look at it, well, why would I score it? The way it is, you're telling me only one person can fulfill it.
Only one who's willing to commit to the 90.
Only one person can fulfill the criteria that was set down as to what we wanted. So,
Their response, they're taking an example, they're taking a calculated risk that they know they're not meeting one of the key points of the goal, and they're going to be scored.
But see,
accordingly.
it gets back, and I'm not trying to be rude, I'm trying to get back to Gary's, the process thing, which causes the confusion. So I get this, and I've never seen it, and I get it, and I look at it, well, what's there to score? Only one can really do whatever, and then I see things, someone has a special filtering capability, and the other one, it violates their spectrum spacing requirements. Well, that sets off alarms. Now, wait a minute. I mean, that's like a secret decoder ring when the average person reads that stuff. So the point is, someone should have came in here 5 or 6 months ago and said, this is what we're doing, and this is why. So when we got to this point, we wouldn't be going back 2 years to figure out who was supposed to be on the committee. And I know you didn't set up the committee, we set up the committee, that's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, also ideally, yeah, those are great questions. We wish they'd been sent to us and the radio committee. We could have really helped provide.
I didn't know there was anything going on.
Okay,
See,
I'm just, yeah.
That's kind of like getting an email, that's like getting an email 5 minutes before meeting starts and say, here's the information on something, I want you to look at this and vote on it. It's, of course, this has been an ongoing process longer, but I think that's not putting words in Commissioner Hollowell's mouth. I think that's his problem, a good portion of his problem with the process, which is a good portion of my problem with the process. Now, does that mean we have the best we can do here? I have no earthly idea. I just know $2 million is a lot of money to spend, and over a course of the next
5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years, a total of $4.5 million is a whole lot of money to spend, especially with the way the economy is going right now. That's all I have.
I look at the responses and the differences in the responses. One's the capability, the 73% or mid-70s versus 95% coverage, and the huge difference in the prices. It makes you wonder if both of them are bidding the same project. And then now, sounds like, I don't know if revise the spec is a good term, but we've certainly spent several months ironing out some definitions. If we resubmit it, do you think that our responses would be more comparable? They'd be any closer?
Frankly, I would not be surprised if Harris didn't respond, as they realize how much more they cost and bid and sell in this case.
I'm sorry.
It's hard to hear you, I'm sorry.
You know,
If it went back out, now that all the pricing and offers and guarantees are public knowledge, I wouldn't be surprised if Harris didn't participate on the second go-around, because they could see they cost twice as much as EFJ Kenwood in this case.
well, and if we have one vendor, there's only one vendor that's capable of performing at the 95% level, or at least willing to commit to that challenge, which we could commit to and ultimately not reach, and then where do we go?
Well, if they don't reach it, speak about you're more knowledgeable on the performance bonds of it.
Right, certainly. So the RFP has a performance bond attached to it. So the vendor has to sign up to meet that. And if they cannot pass the coverage test, then they are on the hook to make adjustments as necessary. Could mean additional sites. It could mean changes in antennas. It could mean increasing power of transmitters. There's things that could be done at that point. But the vendor is responsible for making good on that guarantee, and their performance bond guarantees that they will do that. And that's part of the process. And that's a standard part of the process. And I would add that when the coverage study was done by Trott right up front, that we also showed that we believe that you could attain that 95%. And so really the results that self is guaranteeing is pretty similar to what Trott saw was indeed attainable. So I just wanted to put that part out there as well.
But
We wouldn't ask for gold. Right. Certainly, we wouldn't ask for 95% in the RFP if we believed that wasn't possible to do. So that study was done ahead of time to show what was possible. Therefore, the RFP did indeed show and reflect what we thought was possible so that the vendors could respond to that.
And it just amazes me that only one vendor thinks they can produce that, or only one that submitted thinks they can do that. And, they can have all the bonds in the world and we can spend our money, but if we can't get 95%, we're all in once we commit and we spend our money, and we still don't end up with an end product that is 95%.
Yes, sir, I understand that.
We're the ones seem like here that are taking the risk, and it's the taxpayer dollar that I'm spending. So,
Right, there's not an indication that we had that Motorola did not bid because they had a problem with that guarantee. They didn't ask a single question. They did not submit anything through this process. They had all the opportunities in the world to do that. If there was an indication that Motorola believed that they should not bid because they could not meet that guarantee, they did not share that, and that would be not a common thing because they're not shy about saying things like that. If they have a problem with the process, they will ask that question, they will submit that in writing. We've seen it many, many times in the past, and the fact that we simply got a no-bid letter from Motorola means that they made a business decision not to participate for whatever reason.
yeah, and y'all seem to indicate that's not uncommon for Motorola Corporate not to submit, okay? And then it takes me back to why in the world do we go to Arlington and ask a vendor 100 miles away? You know, we know that's going to cost him more money, might not be economically feasible. I mean, it's just a domino effect if he has to do maintenance on it later, you know.
Right. So-
Versus, I mean, again, it's not about a single vendor.
Right.
But, you know,
So what we typically do see, as Tom had mentioned a second ago, is the corporate offices will typically then find a local shop, a local dealer who will take this on, and that is a very common thing to do, and for whatever reason, they did not seek that out in this case. Perhaps they did, and we don't know what the result of that was, but it is very common for them to do that, and we would point out that this was advertised in many places, as Tom had mentioned. It was out in public record. It was advertised in your newspaper. It was put forth a lot of places. There was a lot of opportunity for any interested party to learn about this process and participate. There's a lot of websites you can subscribe to. We do this, right? When we bid on RFPs ourselves for the services that we provide, we have to go out and learn about those opportunities. And this was put forth in the normal process, procurement code process, to put out these advertisements, to make it available and make it known to the vendor community. And it certainly would appear to us that there was every opportunity for anybody that was an interested party to come in and participate.
Well, it gets back to the process. If we approved a committee 2 years ago, we approved a committee. A committee normally comes back to the board that appointed the committee and informs the board that the committee was appointed by and tells them what the hell's going on before you show up in a meeting with $2 or $4 million proposal. That's not your responsibility.
yeah,
Now,
a huge part of it
Do
falls
we-
right here. I'm not saying the engineering firm, I'm not blaming you guys. I'm saying it's our process.
it's our process. Do we have a contract on the Civils Bend site? See, I don't understand how we can make all these assumptions. I know they've told you they'll do it, but we're committing to spend a couple $1 million on the promise somebody's going to let us put up a cell tower or a tower for radio. Before we got to this point, we should have that hammered down, shouldn't we?
Well, sites are often a chicken-egg sort of problem, right? There's always that issue of, okay, I get a contract to build a site, but I also have to have a contract to actually put in the system. So you always get into this chicken-egg sort of problem with siting. And so it's very common, as Tom said, to have to make adjustments to siting. And what you would typically do in this case is if you would have that one fall through, we actually had 3 different site alternatives that were part of the process. We went with the one that seemed like the best.
Where's the other ones?
The others discussed were at the Moss Lake North Fire Station, and then possibly at a private residence where Nortex already has a tower south of there, near Moss Lake. And they were explored, and they, Trot did a study to see which one was the best, and then looking at the availability of fiber was a biggie, and the fiber is now installed at the school at Civils Bend. We did have discussions with the Civils Bend School Board on the process and their thoughts of whether or not that would be something they would be willing to look into, and got that agreement at least in that respect. And throughout this process, before we went with the RFPs that was brought before all of you, I think, well, you may not feel there was enough communication. I think this has been a very open process that has been brought back here for many of the actions that we've taken.
Well, part of this problem, I think, has been, we initially, as a court, thought that we didn't have the skill sets to define the spec. Okay? We identified the problem. We all collectively agree that we need to improve communications throughout the county, radio communications. Yeah, want to clarify that? So my thinking is, we hire an engineering firm to hold our hand, walk us through it to some degree. And then we turn around and we're asked to score something, which we initially confessed our lack of knowledge, I think we needed if we were going to use this process, we should have had a second opinion or somebody else to help us assess the specifications, the RFPs, stuff of that nature. I don't, it just, this process has been a little different.
Yes, sir. If I could comment on that. So it's not, typical that we would score this RFP, and there's a couple of reasons why. What we would typically do is perform the analysis of the proposals that we get in, and then we lay out a matrix of what are the compliance issues, what each of the vendors approach in a different manner, what they guarantee and what they don't, and how that pricing works out. So we give this analysis back to you, but the reason why we're not involved in the scoring is we do a job here, and a year from now, we walk away. And you live with that result for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, right? And so the most important part of this is for you to pick a vendor that you would like to partner with. This is long-term for you, and we understand that. And so if we get involved in trying to pick that vendor for you, then we would put in the biases that we might have, and that's not what we're trying to do. We want you to pick the vendor that you want to be in a partnership with for 10 years, 12 years, or 15 years. So it is typical for us not to score this. We give you the knowledge, the information, and the analysis that allows you to pick that partner that you want to be in business with for the next 20 years or 10 years or 15 years, whatever it happens to be.
And this is admittedly a lengthy and complex project. We've been working on this for basically 2 years or so, from start to now, and it challenges the, none of us are experts in this particular field, and so it's challenging the extent of, I know, my knowledge on anything regarding this. So I know that's been difficult. But I think that the project itself, or getting to an end project, is the most important part of all this to me, and to understand that we are doing so and likely to spend a lot of money doing so if we it's a large dollar amount, and I completely understand the concern regarding that. I'm okay moving forward with an RFP today, but if the court is not, then we can reject and make any tweaks necessary and put it back out for a period of time. But like I said, my main goal is to have an end product at the end of this that we are comfortable with and that serves the taxpayers.
And I would argue the point, if we're going to have to do something. Aren't the repeaters getting old? The repeaters that we have? We're going to have to do something. We'd like to have an extra tower. I would make this point. If we want an extra tower to increase the range, which is the goal, and we're going to have one out there, and if the school board at this time would let us put one, I would recommend that we would get a signed agreement with these folks.
Or at least a letter agreement or some type of...
A written agreement, because if this takes 6 more months and the board changes and they say no. So when we did all this planning for what? You got a couple of extra sites, but the coverage won't be as good, I don't think.
And to your point, it'll take about, once you contractually sign with a vendor, it's going to take a year or two to implement that system. So there's actually plenty of time to get that tower agreement in place during the pre-stages of the project. And if it falls through, worst case, a change order is not uncommon, and the county would save money from that site. If you have to go forward with 2 sites and see what the coverage gets you there, with a option from the vendor to install a 3rd site if the 95% can't be met.
But see, that's the most, in a commissioner's mind, in this commissioner's mind, that is the poorest way to do business, that you're selling a project for X number of dollars based on sites,
and you have the ability to get a commitment to a site, I know it's going to take a year or two, maybe more, to get this done. I understand all that. But I would get my commitments done so you don't have to do all that because that costs money. Now,
Right, certainly a process you could go through is you could go ahead and start the process of getting a contract with your vendor of choice, and you could, at the same time, start your process of getting that site under contract, and you could bring those back together as a signed agreement, and if one falls through, you don't sign the other one, and that way you bring those as a pair, and if if you can't do that, then you would pause until you can do that. That would be an option that you could go through in order to guarantee that site availability.
this is more of our issue than it is your issue. I think you ought to get a letter of agreement no matter what we do, or a commitment
Yeah.
that we get that site tied up. What was the lifespan of those repeaters yet? 2 years ago, it was 2 years?
Most of the repeaters we have were bought with Homeland Security grants in 2005, 6, 7. And so while they, as well as many of our subscriber radios, are coming to the end of their supported life, they do still function, still work, and we typically keep things till they break. But as part of this process, I would assume that if we needed something needed to be upgraded as part of this, we would probably do that.
Okay.
But everything we have on the ground right now is P25 compliant and capable of functioning within this system.
Then it takes me back to the numbers, who knows if we'll even be using radios 11 years down the road. But it's interesting if we go through this 11-year life cycle, assuming we're going to have radios, then it's $600,000 cheaper to go with Harris.
Oh, I got you.
And I'm curious as to why, over time, the maintenance becomes more expensive with the first option versus the second option. Is that indicative of equipment or anything of that nature?
I can speak to that one as well. So that is a software license that we're talking about here. That's a software maintenance piece, and we strongly disagree with the need to have an expensive software license. This is a conventional system. As Tom had mentioned, in the trunking environment, you have a computer system that runs the radios. In this case, it's conventional. You have a set of repeaters out there, and they function. So there's not a lot of software involved here, and that was a perplexing number to us as well. And part of the thing that we had identified here is that's an option, and we would anticipate that if you move forward, that part of that negotiation would be to negotiate that down or out of this process, because we see no need to have an expensive software license agreement for a system like this that appears to have no actual software as a part of it. That didn't make any sense to us either, and we believe that we would get through that in the negotiation and get that either down or out of this project.
But once I sign up for this RFP, who's to say that, I lose some of my leverage in the negotiation process, and as soon as I sign up.
Right, in this case, it's an option, right? So it's an option that's not part of the core of the purchase, so you can pick and choose those options as you see fit, or as we would work with and come back with a package, right? And so it's our feeling that that being an option, and we don't like that option, and it's our view that we could either do without that option or negotiate a different flavor of that option so that you would have the maintenance that you need without having to have this expensive software type of agreement, and admittedly a system that shouldn't have a lot of software in it. And we get the concern on that piece. We absolutely do.
does Harris, do they maintain and do their own tower and maintenance installation, or do they sub that out?
They would sub that out. Almost all of the vendors sub out to local contractors to do the actual work with the installs. That's a very typical thing that would happen.
I can't defend our process personally, but if you guys want to do that,
You want to wait another week and talk about this a little more?
I'd beat it to death,
I mean, whatever.
but I don't,
Do we have any thoughts from the other two commissioners?
Sitting here collecting my thoughts.
Well, we didn't find out till recently that the Star Casino was even off the table. Some of that discussion, like they were saying earlier, should have took place sooner. It was a surprise to me that we were looking at Civil's Bend School.
I thought Ray had came to court and updated us on that.
I think we talked about that.
It was just recent.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
we went for, a year thinking that WinStar Casino?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like the committee. I kind of agree that maybe the committee should have got up and gave their point to us as well. I don't recall appointing the committee either, but that's 2 years ago.
never
That's
mind,
all
I'm
I've
sorry.
really got on it.
I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts about it, but can't put anything constructive. I mean, talk about our process. I mean, sounds like we all need to be more involved in it, and I don't want to use the word micromanagement. We need to, if we had a problem with it, we needed to be asking questions along the way and not just sitting back waiting on it all to unfold, so.
Well,
I
when
don't
you
know that we
appoint a
suggest-
committee,
Do what?
when you appoint a committee, it's kind of like buying carpet tiles.
Well, I don't want to compare carpet tiles in this, but
Hopefully not an hour-long.
Long discussion on carpet tiles, but we'll get to that in a little.
we talk about carpet tiles for an hour, the same thing we're talking about, something's going to cost us $2 million, we got even
But,
bigger problem. But
No, the point
the
I'm.
committee deal, I don't remember the committee deal either, and I was on the committee, so I don't remember how that came about. I thought that everybody on the court was scoring it, so, but it hadn't been 2 years, because I haven't been here 2 years, but it's been a year. This came up right after I came on, I'd probably gotten my feet wet and then it came on, so it's been a year and a half.
And then we had an entire process before then of the actual coming up with what our current coverage levels are, so.
I was here for the exploration. I remember when we,
But the committee wasn't asked to score it, and
In other words, we have a
Yeah,
communication
recently.
problem. If I got to appoint a committee and the committee don't ever come back and tell me anything, then I might as well not have a committee and do it myself.
oh, yeah.
I had no idea that we had alternatives to the civil spend situation. We did talk about that we hadn't been able to obtain space at WinStar, but I know space has been obtained at WinStar, and there are antennas at WinStar. We hadn't been able to achieve that.
Yeah.
Let's table it for a week. One more week, 2 years, isn't going to matter.
Is that a motion?
Motion.
A motion by Commissioner Leon Clement.
Because I think we really need to get into this, people that don't understand communication problems, we need to have some discussion about that. For the simple fact, 2 years ago, you said something in a meeting and you can't remember that? No. And it's not up to me to remind me. It's up to whoever is on that committee to remind me.
if I gotta take care of all that too, why have a committee? I'll just do it myself. Kind of like carpet top.
Typically, you'd have a committee chair and stuff of that nature, and we'd get some feedback, and we'd get some input. And I see this one summary, and the comparisons between the two vendors is just glowingly different, and I don't know, like I said.
I want a few more days to regurgitate all this.
Well, I have a question. Since Judge, you and Commissioner Snuggs were on the committee, did the committee meet, discuss, and go over any of this?
No, I was just given the RFP and reviewed it.
So what was the purpose of the committee then? Just to review this?
Which is the same thing we're doing now. So
I made a motion.
we do have a motion to table.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hollowell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 8 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding award, reject bid FY 20-05 for road, oil, and emissions. Do we have any questions or?
I do. I got to get to it just a second, because there's something a little bit misleading, I think, on one of the documents. Shelley,
Thank you, guys.
182, maybe?
What are you after, Gary?
I'm on page 182.
82, yeah.
You there, Shelley?
Yeah.
Okay, on that, on that page, if I read it correctly, it suggests that Rooker no bidded on 800. Everybody's still using 800, right?
They've no bid on the pickup.
They bid on the 800.
Oh, okay, that's my question. By pickup means us go there? Is that what pickup
Right.
was about? Okay, because then I said, it looks like they no bid it there, but then when you get down to their letter, so that's just for pickup only?
Right.
Okay, all right,
That, they bid the delivered.
okay. I just thought if that's a summary up there, then that was a little bit misleading. Nobody has anything else, I'd make a motion, we accept all the bids.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
How'd that compare to last year's?
I think it's up just about a nickel or something, isn't it?
How could it be
You
up?
know, Shelley?
I don't have last year's.
I think it's up just a little bit,
You wouldn't think it would be.
but the price of oil went down.
Yeah.
I think it's up.
Item number 9 is open public hearing regarding replats of lots 1534 and 1535 in Lake Kiowa Subdivision in Precinct 2. It is 11:08. I don't believe we have anybody on the call-in or anybody that we have nobody that contacted us on that. So item number 10 will be to close public hearing, and it is also 11:08. Public hearing is closed. Item number 11 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding replats of lots 1534 and 1535 in Lake Kiowa Subdivision in Precinct 2. Commissioner Snuggs, you have anything on this?
Nope, Lake Kiowa POA signed off on it, and they're pretty diligent, so I make a motion we approve.
We got a motion by Commissioner Snuggs, seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
Calling
He
this
gave me the
vote in.
thumbs
Is he
up.
calling a vote in or what?
Apparently thumbs up is yes. Item number 12 is deliberate and consider possible approval of preliminary plat for Club Lake Road Estates in Precinct 1. We'll get back to that one in just 1 minute,
Gary's,
since that's
isn't it?
Gary's. We'll go on to 13, which is deliberate and consider possible action regarding improvements to Commissioners Courtroom. Let's talk carpet. Rick, you want to give us an update? We skipped over, we'll come back to item
I
12.
apologize, my road foreman is off, so I needed to.
You're fine, we'll come back to it.
One of the things I learned today is that radio communications is almost as confusing as carpet top.
Let the record show, all I did was pick out the color.
Was there a committee?
I'm not the one, no. I had my color picked out ready after the first meeting.
let me,
So we're going to talk about triangles instead of squares today?
Circles.
Circles, yeah, circles make it very interesting.
That'll make it a little,
There's some gaps in there somewhere. I like it, let's go with it.
don't look at the color. I finally got an explanation. So we have two different type of products in two different applications. If we go with this color, we can go with this type of tile, with this kind of backbone. And you can use what they call tactile to go with this. You can glue it down, or you can use tactile. Tactile is another piece of adhesive square that you put down and glue the tile to the tile. And the whole floor will be floating, it would be stuck to each other so that they won't separate. He said it goes down faster, but you have to purchase the tactile. That's with this product. Then this product is closer to what we have in the courthouse. By the way, what we have in the courthouse is no longer, they don't make it. Matter of fact, the sales lady I was talking to, she didn't know what I was talking about.
Is that the only color it comes in?
No, you can get this extra padding, it's like felt padding on the back, has a key at the top.
Okay, what good is that?
So
Cushion.
it has an extra cushion on it, but you have to glue it.
You have to glue it.
I got this thinking it would be comparable to what we have, but it's not because they don't make it.
And the sample is called Holiday Inn, by the way. Is it? Yeah, I think so. Isn't that the one that's Holiday Inn blue? Yeah. Just-
And we glue these squares we currently have. They don't, and that's advantageous when we get ready to replace this, not to have to glue.
They have the felt on that's sticky. Make that. So
And you have to glue those down too.
have to-
And they don't come in a square.
You can use the tactile.
Well, you have to glue it down.
It's tacking down.
It just sticks back.
Okay, you don't glue it to the floor?
It's like
How much
double
extra
stick.
is that?
They are, it'll take like $240 to buy them.
Oh, okay.
Do you cover the whole floor first with the tactile? Then if you've got the tactile, say it covers four corners, four top,
Geometry tells you something doesn't necessarily work
yeah,
right.
something tells you it's not flat. Because you got a piece of tile sitting here and you're gonna go put four corners on it to attach the four pieces adjacent to it. You'd think there's a rise every place there's a tactile.
I haven't seen it, I'm assuming it's a thin
Sheet of paper type
sheet
stuff.
that it's like you peel off. Stick it on the back of the tile. I don't know, I haven't seen it.
Be real thin, so it's a gluing process or something. And you don't have any idea what it'd be like to replace it versus glue.
The advantage to having the interface, same product that we have here has gone away because of the issues of glue. You can go back and just pick these compartments somewhere and have it laid. I got this information this morning after I called her and asked her when she was going to send me this.
So y'all just want to lay regular regular carpet and be done with it? Or do you want to go through all that trouble? All I was the guy who helped pick the color. So that was the color that best worked in both places. I don't, at this point, it doesn't matter to me. I'm kind of tired of looking at these things.
How's it wear compared to regular carpet?
I don't have a clue.
And is regular carpet cheaper to install in the long run?
What did you say, Gary?
I said,
No, what was the question?
I said, how does it wear, and is laying carpet cheaper than the tiles in the long run?
Probably.
And he said, yes, I believe was his answer.
I don't know what you want to put in here.
Other options would be to go to just the local vendors here and have them come and give us a quote on a good quality inlay carpet or not. They can do tiles also, or planks, that's called carpet planks.
You think it can go with the squares and the tacky for in here?
I'm sorry.
Do you said something about in here?
Yeah, do you want to,
Do we do one-
lay conventional carpet in here? We don't have it in any other
No,
part
I
of the
would, I
building.
would think here we would, I mean, is
Stick with-
tacky, is a tacky the way to go?
You ought to stick with something reasonable, version of what you have in here.
But that's going to be planks versus squares.
The other thing, you do the tacky, you're not sticking anything to that part of it, you're not putting glue on your existing floor. If you ever want to take that,
Yeah.
Make a command decision and go with this color and use the tacky?
Sounds good to me.
For in here.
For in here, yes, for in here.
Can you get such a small amount? I know there's a minimum order.
well, this pricing is based on buying it for those. So I'll have to go back and ask that question. Also, they are 5 to 6 weeks out. They don't have it in stock.
It doesn't matter in here.
No.
5 or 6
There.
weeks, it's not gonna kill us.
I would get somebody to go put carpet over there across the
Yeah.
street.
Go get a local and get that done. Or
No, I won't pick out a color again. I've already done that once.
So is that
that's a motion.
motion to go with that for in here?
Second?
We have a second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
Do we have
I
anything
guess that's a
else?
motion for both, is it not? Or do we need to?
It's just that one, we'll talk about that one here in a minute. On the other one, we got it
Yeah, we
on
got
here.
it. Does he have anything else on here? Are you done?
No, we got him here in a minute. Yeah, he'll be back in just a minute.
Okay.
While we're still on, though, before Darrell gets up, on 13 and communicate, or for improvements to Commissioners Courtroom, if we plan to continue to stream these for the foreseeable future, we might need to look into, and I know Darrell got a quote on some of that, but we might need to look into a little bit more advanced system, or a little bit, especially maybe a camera or whatever the case may be, to make it where it's a little more permanent, is my suggestion.
If we're gonna continue to stream them, I say we go, it's budget time, put the money in the
Money in
budget
the budget and do it.
and get where we air them appropriately when we're meeting.
Yeah, there's no sense in just jumping into it now.
And then, I don't mean to be ugly, but we're not relying on the press to communicate tons and tons and tons of, I mean, ain't no way you guys can capture in print
An
the
hour-long.
conversation and an hour-long thing. So this way, we get it to the public that's interested. And it would be nice if whatever that platform is
Yeah, it's hard to
Lucy.
capture the nuances of radio communications thing and without the hour-long discussion.
and have the appropriate number of speakers for the speakers out there, the appropriate numbers of the cameras to see both the speaker, and
Yeah.
ultimately, we're going to end up with an IT person in here flipping between cameras if you got
Yeah,
different folks speaking.
Microphone as well, because
yeah.
Commissioner Snuggs is having to share a microphone. I don't know why we can't move that microphone down and leave that one up, but
Yeah, you'd
a
have
lot of
to
times we
back
forget
up.
to switch the microphone, so.
I'd suggest that we fund our
Yeah,
audio and visual communications.
but just kind of putting that in
preparation.
everybody's head to be, we need a little more permanent setup if that's the plan, which I'm completely in favor of, but
Darrell need to make a road trip, go check out Collin County or somebody
Benton
like that. and
County
see-
or some of
Benton
those,
County
yeah.
to see how they're getting two-way cameras and,
Grayson County, there's a lot of them around that are doing it now.
I have Rooker's numbers from this year.
Oh, yeah.
The delivered MC 250s currently 280.
Oh, okay.
800, what you got?
800's currently 275.
So it went
It went down.
Cents?
Yeah.
Oh, 275, okay.
And delivered MC 3000's currently 265.
And we're all using 800.
Yeah.
So everything went down.
Everything went down. That's good.
I was thinking it went up a little.
Let's jump back and take number 12, which is deliberate, consider possible approval of preliminary plat for Club Lake Road Estates in Precinct 1. Commissioner, you want to talk on this?
Well, I vacated, so I didn't have to talk to that. Y'all didn't handle it.
We didn't handle it while you were gone, I'm sorry.
No, this is preliminary. Need to be some changes on the drawings before we sign them. This is the subdivision that borders Grayson and Cooke County, situated between Highway 82, Highway 56, and County Road 176. I would make the motion, we approve the preliminary.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion?
Just for the record, there will be no roads to be maintained by the county, all
And you just
those.
we sent this off to engineers to review.
It has been sent off to Freeze and Nichols for review.
Motion and a second, and if no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Now, we'll jump into 14, deliberate, consider possible action regarding battery backup replacements for the courthouse. Darrell, you want to talk to this just a little bit? Just as a refresher, we did originally budget.
Yes.
We had discussion during last budget on improving the backup battery situation. I think we talked about going with the generator versus not. And I know we put 13,000 in the budget. 16,000?
16.
18. 18. The number keeps getting bigger. Auction. In the budget.
Got 18, do I hear 20?
This particular option is more like 2,000-ish. Go for it, Darrell.
So just to do a little backstory and refresh memories, we have 2 sets of battery backups in the courthouse basement to run the servers and the critical infrastructure in case we have a power failure, storm, something like that. Half of that battery backup system has failed. It's just past its useful life and needs to be replaced. So what I've been working on for a while is finding a replacement for everything. Replace the failed part, replace the unfailed part that is past its age, and do the whole process. I haven't found anything that seemed affordable to us. The prices are really high to get what we want. So I think what we need to do right now is just repair the single part of that system that's failed. I found a vendor that'll do that for us for about $2,000, and then we need to revisit whether we want to just continue using this old equipment, which is a viable option if we put new battery units inside of it, or if we want to spend the extra money and replace that and get longer run time.
So how much run time would doing this give you?
It should give us about 30 minutes.
And the option we considered last budget, we're kind of looking at was going to give how much run time?
We were trying to hit 2 hours worth, and that was going to cost us somewhere between $32,000 and $60,000. And it's just such a huge amount of money. Now I'm questioning, do we need to try and shoot for 2 hours? If we have a power outage, I just need to get somebody down here to shut stuff down as quick as possible, and then we turn it back on when the power's back. That only happens 2, maybe 3 times a year anyway.
So the goal is not necessarily to have it running for sustainable periods of time. It's in order to shut it down properly so that it doesn't, the system doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily.
I think my goal has been keep it running, always keep it running, but I don't see us spending the huge amount of money to do that. Maybe it's better to just shut it down gracefully if we can, and then bring it back up later on.
What would, if this, when the system shuts down and is off, what's the repercussions?
Pretty much the same as unplugging your computer. We all can agree that that's a bad thing. When you try to turn that back on, you might get a blue screen, and there will be problems. With the server system, if that happens during the day and people are reading and writing to it, you might lose data, God forbid. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But I think there's enough safeties and redundancy in place that even if we lose power, I hope we're not gonna lose any data. I don't like relying on hope, but also, $32,000. We have to weigh what's the value, what's worth more here.
And that 32,000 wasn't even talking about a generator?
The 32 wasn't talking about a generator, I think was going to be significantly more, and I don't know if Rick ever got hard numbers on that, but that was six-figure cost, I think. And this is...
Shame you can't put it at the jail.
It would be pretty hard to move all the central infrastructure from the courthouse out there. There are companies that relocate data centers, and we could get a price on that. It's not impossible.
And we've got fiber between here and there, do we not?
Yeah,
We do.
Yeah, where would you put it if you moved?
yeah, I don't know if you got a place.
In the new south expansion of the jail, possibly. We do.
That's a little bit more than 30,000.
Yes, sir. We do not have any space out there unless we took over some office that's already being used by a staff person and put air conditioning for it. There's just no space that I know of. So I haven't discussed that with maintenance or anybody, but just thinking about having walked around the building, I can't think of a good space for that.
Explain something. Standard 2,090, premium 2,330, Sundays and holidays 2,650. What do you,
That's just their additional labor charge for during business hours, after hours.
Installing it on
or
I'm just
Sunday.
installing it. Okay, so we're just going to go standard.
Or right after.
I would see that we
I'm
could
fine
go
with it.
standard or maybe a Friday night.
Okay.
Do we
Gotcha.
have some type of maintainers on those batteries?
We don't right now. They're offering us, what do you call, maintenance service to come and check them once a year. I don't really think we need that.
I don't think we need maintenance, but, like we would put on vehicles or RVs or boats, stuff of that nature, where you put a battery maintainer on it. Is that possible?
These stay charged up all the time, don't they?
Yeah, the way these work is they get power from the utility, and they're like a transformer, essentially. They transform that and keep the battery charged, and they put the power out. So power's always going through them, and that's why the batteries wear out. So after 6 years, the one half that's failed, it just says, I'm not holding any charge at all anymore, so we got nothing.
So it's got its own built-in maintainer,
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah, it
That's what
does.
it sounds like.
I'll make a motion, we do the 2,000, whatever you want, the
I think it's
2,900.
reasonable
All right,
to
that's
do that now and just
And
give
Gerald's
us,
he may have to move it to a different line item, but we had money
We've got
budgeted
the
for
money,
this
so I
project.
make a motion, we approve it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement,
Second.
second by Commissioner John Clement. I don't know if, Rick, you want to say anything on the space at the jail?
I was just thinking that there is some, bigger room you need,
Pretty good.
possibility of building a room upstairs in the mezzanine, right near the IT room downstairs, air conditioning kit. That is a possibility.
that could be a possibility.
And the reason for bringing up the jail for the press is there's a generator out there, so it wouldn't have to worry about. Yeah.
Well, this may be far-fetched. We're looking for a location with generator. I know all our EMS stations got generators. We got Rice Avenue with all the property there that we could build something, but that's more money.
There's not fiber to that one.
There's no fiber in
Right
that
now, there's
direction.
not. If we do the radio communications, then there might be fiber there.
I figure there's a radio tower there.
But they don't have, there may soon be fiber to that location. I think right now it's not fiber to Rice Avenue.
I believe that's the leased line from AT&T, if I'm not mistaken.
That's one of the last.
Yeah. Anyway, you got a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
I
Thank you.
would pay for this from supplies or miscellaneous because the batteries are disposable. And they're not.
And you've got money in 570, but I don't know. I don't know if he's got the money to pay for it right now, but you can move money out of 570 into one
Yeah, I
of
wouldn't
those
put it to 570 because they're not
capital.
capital. You're going to throw them away, so they're not an asset.
Yeah. Thank you, Dale. Item 15 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding annex remodel. I don't know that I put the numbers back in here, but I did talk with, and I had Shelley join me on a call with Komatsu about the differences in pricing based on their proposal and then their revised proposal. Clarification on the last paragraph and more specifically that last sentence or so. It was more about that there was, I think, $5,500 in there to get a cost estimate of the project. This isn't that they're not going to help us out as far as going through the project. This is, they're advising that it may not be advantageous to get a cost estimate given when we would seek that estimate and what the current economic environment is, and it's kind of a smaller project, so that would that may change quite a bit, and that estimate would come based upon Dallas-Fort Worth pricing and maybe not Gainesville, Texas pricing, and they don't think that it would be we could save $5,500, and it may not be a wise use of that funds to do that because of all the underlying conditions at the moment regarding that. That's my understanding, unless Shelley had a different take on.
The value engineering, because the job's so small. We argue over cents on wiring and tape and bedding versus a $3 million job. So they took that out, and then they took out the payment to TDLR. Basically, I think they said that we pay them and they go hire somebody. So basically, they just said, we go hire somebody and keep them out of the loop. So that's part of the cuts.
That's a spinoff of y'all asking them if they still use the same guy.
Yeah, they just decided to.
Not necessarily, but, you know.
So that's why that's a couple of things that were taken out of that revised proposal.
But they're going to be involved through the entire process, and that was my main concern with that paragraph.
But we got clarification, so that's no longer.
And I did get their insurance certificate in the mail this past week.
Thoughts? On the engagement?
Either way.
It's expensive. It's, I don't think that's in the packet, but it's $98,132. The original was $114,339. You guys want to proceed, or what do you want to do here?
Everybody's quiet.
Do what?
Everybody's quiet.
I mean, time to get it going, isn't it? We've talked about it a few times.
Fine with it.
Make a motion to approve, is that what we need?
Got a motion with, by Commissioner Snuggs to approve the fee proposal and contract, I guess, for Komatsu.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
I will notify the other
People that
5
we have.
submitters.
Sounds good. Item 16 is deliberation regarding status and future needs of new CPS court and consider any possible action regarding the same carpet again. Are we back to carpet?
Carpet.
If you want to just get a quote on a quality carpet, local provider, and
Now, I want to pick this color too, so get some samples and I'll help you pick the color on this one too. I'm a glutton for punishment.
I thought you said you weren't going to pick.
Oh, I changed my mind.
I
A
sent
good
it,
commissioner always has the ability to go back and redirect his
Oh,
feelings.
you're
about-
malleable, is that what you're telling me?
Well, I wasn't going to use the malleable word, but I can be malleable. No, I'm afraid if I don't help him pick a color, we'll be in here 6 months from now still picking a color.
So, yeah, we can hopefully get a price to get it back by next court, and we're not,
I sat in on a webinar with Judge Haverkamp Friday with the OCA on reopening the courts, and they are pushing, continuing remotely, doing everything they can, and looking at doing jury trials maybe sometime by this summer.
Yeah.
And so I don't think they're in any hurry to open the courts back up.
That may take us till August to get this done, though.
So you're saying that's also be consistent with the CPS court?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, it should be. And I want to talk about that just a little bit when we get down to number 21 about reopening and.
Well, what I'm
Saying is we're not up against a hard.
So what I'm trying to say is if you want to, if this carpet is 5 to 6 weeks out,
It may be okay.
I think you might be okay doing that carpet over
But
there.
hopefully if we get a local provider, it won't be, if we're just talking carpet and not carpet squares, it will be a little quicker turnaround.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that, that you might have the time to wait the 5 or 6 weeks to get, if you
If we
need
wanted to
to
go.
order it in a quantity to get, then you might be okay.
I guess maybe it might, determining factor might be how much this local vendor carpet, whole inlay carpet costs.
yeah, that's why
The
we
difference in the cost.
get a cost on it, and then we'll have hopefully everything we need next quarter.
Anything further on item 16?
I will say that he has totally finished the walls. Everything's up and done, painted. And so electrician's got to put a couple of plugs in, and then the locksmith is coming this afternoon to look at the locks.
Okay.
We've made arrangements, those don't turn into offices, right?
Yeah, those are not. Item 17 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding County Transportation Infrastructure Fund grant. And I think Shelley brought us a, looks like updated application, or filled out application, rather.
And the only reservation I have about that, and we need to note it on the court, that priority list is not a priority list. I don't want the state to be confusing that with,
It shows all of Precinct 1 roads at the bottom. Is that
Yeah.
what your concern is?
yeah. I don't know how we intermingled them years ago when we did this, but we know we all turned in multiple roads, and we didn't sit and rank them. And I certainly don't want Precinct 1 to say, oh, well, they're the least important here, and that ain't happening. So
When we filled it out the last time, they put all precinct 4 at the bottom.
that's what I'm saying. So the priority doesn't mean anything? as far as-
doesn't. I don't think anybody thinks it does.
I know we don't, I'm just not sure what the state.
Yeah, you don't want to
You know, if the state, if we turned one in out of order, and they say, oh my gosh, that's
was a
a low
project,
priority
yeah.
road.
I put them in based on the date to begin construction. I was going to put them in precinct 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I think you're showing favoritism.
Okay.
So do we just need to go with,
I-
alternate back through, however, until it's done, or what's the?
So this is the first draft. So tell me how y'all would like to see them.
Alternate, 1, 2, 3, and 4 being, a different precinct for each one, so that way we don't get into a.
I think what we might do
I think
is
that's what we did last time, was 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Well, it's Leon's first road and his priority list, and John's, and,
Are you telling me that I can't do these until somebody else gets their road done?
No.
Because some of these guys, I don't know. I'm just
No, but I mean,
But, you know, something can blow up and all of a sudden you're tied up.
right. But no, that would, in other words, the first road you want to do is, the first road John wants to do is, and then 5 through 8 would be the second road you want to do, and
Is Alan in charge of this up at Wichita Falls again?
Yes.
Have you talked to him about it?
No.
I mean, if the state just took this at face value, that would be wrong.
Yeah, that way, yeah.
So, and I just want to say, hey, do we need to talk to Alan and clarify with him or ask? I mean, we know what we're trying to do, but this form doesn't reflect that.
Talk to Alan and see what,
Okay. Well, like I said, this is the first stab, since I got all 4 of you. I put it in based on beginning construction date.
we need, but we need to have this in.
May 27th.
Yeah, well.
So we can approve it on next Monday, or we can approve it today, and then with the revised schedule coming or whatever. So that way we're not sitting around waiting.
But if we submit it like this and they tie us to it, then what would happen is, because each of us turned in a little bit more money than what we thought we might get.
Yeah.
Well, you would exhaust all of it before you ever got out of precinct 4.
Well, I got a question on line 3, County Road 316. Is that, because I just turned in one road.
That's
You have a
Leon.
I didn't do it.
That was on
316.
that was on Leon's list.
Well, it shouldn't be 316. I don't know where that come from. It got written down wrong.
You just turned in 365, John?
Yes.
Probably is written down, I'm assuming, because it's in the middle of all the 4s.
And that was on Leon's list.
No.
You just cut and paste?
Uh-huh.
So I misspelled resurface down there? That's probably abbreviated because I'm running out of space.
Car surface.
Or surface it, yeah.
Fair enough. We can get that cleaned up and on next court.
Wanted to know why I was reading it. We meet next week anyway.
We meet next week anyway.
You're going to submit it electronically, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll be fine. Item 17 will be no action. Item 18, deliberate and consider possible action regarding FEMA grant 2015 flood. Do we have anything new on that?
Can I trash this draft, Shelley? I'm guessing.
Anything new on the 2015 flood?
Not so far.
Commissioner?
It's the same old flood it was.
If not, 18 will be no action. Item 19 is executive session in compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act 551.
Can we call a break?
We'll have let's do a 5-minute break and then we'll convene into executive. Shelley, you mind sticking around? Okay, it is 12:09. We are back in regular session. Item number 20 is to deliberate, consider possible action regarding FEMA grant for COVID-19. I don't believe we have anything. Item 21 is to deliberate and consider possible action regarding public health emergency declaration for COVID-19. We're continuing to follow the governor's plan. He did offer some guidance on opening up other categories of businesses, and they'll anticipate more coming as early as the 18th as well, another phase 2 potentially coming.
Doesn't the governor have a call today?
Got a call sometime this afternoon
Maybe he'll surprise us with some more this afternoon.
and should have a little bit more information probably in the coming days on some of that. Locally, we're still preparing to open access to county facilities more on the 18th, most likely eliminating the appointment only to get into buildings. Each office will be set up as the elected official needs it set up in order to gauge traffic flow in and out. So Pam, if you need to do something on marriage license or something, that may be your number one point, but it's not necessarily appointment only. We are trying to still put procedures in place for each department on that.
But if you choose to make out of county, keep it by appointment, that's your call. You do it.
Yeah.
That's what,
We talked about that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean,
I
so
would.
kind of pushing that back to the elected official to make that way you're not over inundated with a bunch of people from another county, or you can kind of space that out.
are
But
you going to try to get the department heads a timeline to get back with you?
Yeah,
so
they
that you can
should.
get it out to the
Yeah.
media?
we're gonna push some of that out, hopefully by the end of the week. If not, then Monday of next week will be the 18th. Hopefully be able to have some of that for everybody, and then we'll be able to place it on the website as well, on what each individual department is doing.
Well, it's time to get things going again. I know we keep saying that, but it really is. What about this temporary worker thing?
If you want to talk about that on the next item.
Okay, you want to wait till the next item? It's all in the same
It's
group.
same-
It's
same.
all in the same thing. It has to do with, can we include it all in one deal and then we're done?
Let's move on to the next item. 'cause
Okay,
we're
move
talking
on to
about
the next item.
Deliberate and consider possible action on personnel matters. We are, part of this process will be, we're still going to be taking temperatures when you enter most county facilities, or all county facilities. Right now, that's being done in the courthouse using our courthouse security. As the courts start opening back up, they will need to be reassigned and getting ready to be reassigned. So we might want to have some temporary part-time people help with that as well. We have a few of them being used now, utilize them to the extent we can, but we may need additional.
Need a motion
Sure.
to do that? I'll make a motion. We hire however many temporary workers that it reasonably takes to fulfill a full-day schedule in all the buildings, because we do have the opportunity to get reimbursed from FEMA for some of that, 75% potentially, whereas we have these bailiffs tied up taking temperatures, and they need to be getting their plans together, how they're going to reopen court and get back to regular duties. I think we've been kind of wasting their time sitting at the door. It's worked well, but I think it's time for them to move on.
As the courts start opening back up.
And we're going to open the courthouse back up, hopefully, fairly soon, and let life get back on. Get
I
on
was
with
going
it.
to second that, but all that
Oh,
extra
no,
stuff,
you just
I'm not
kept talking. We have a motion of some sort by Commissioner Leon.
Some sort. You didn't understand any of
I
that?
understand it, but to hire
I wonder
additional
how Pam's
personnel.
going to,
I know.
synopsize that.
To hire I believe the motion was to hire additional temporary part-time personnel
Cover the entries.
for entries to county facilities on taking temperatures.
So why did you have to repeat all that after I said it? See?
It was the rest of that
Yeah.
kind of got lost in translation.
second it.
We have a second by Commissioner Snuggs.
You want some more discussion? For clarification, I want everything open back up. Is that better? Okay, thank you.
I second that one, too.
There we go. Well, you're working towards that process. I don't have anything in further. We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Future agenda items, we'll put the radio till back on there. Anything else? The grant, CTIF. That's all I've got at the moment. Next item is to adjourn.
I make that motion?
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs.
Nope, wait a minute. I'm going to clarify the 316 because it looks like I got County Road 316 mixed in with 400 numbers. County Road 316 is the east side of the road that got cut in two by the Munster Lake. So they left the whole road numbered 316, but that little piece is actually in Precinct 4.
Is that a second to the motion to adjourn? Is that-
I second.
We have a second by Commissioner Leon Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0.
Anything here needs signing?